Welcome back to the Nancy Levin Show. I am an expert, and sometimes I feel like a fraud. And both of those expressions are true at the same time, in the same breath. And I want to start here today, not necessarily because it's a confession, though it kind of is, but because I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've built something. You've earned your place. You've got the credentials, the track record, the results. And still, there is a moment, a meeting, an email, comment, a room you walk into where the floor tilts and the voice arrives. Who do you think you are? So let's talk about that voice today, where it comes from, why it gets louder right when you're growing, and what to do when you are standing fully in your expertise and feeling like a complete imposter at the same time. Here's the thing I teach, and the thing I have to keep relearning in my own body. We are not either or. We are both and. This is at the heart of shadow work. And we've been trained to believe that we have to pick a side of ourselves, confident or scared, capable or uncertain, the expert or the imposter, as if we're supposed to amputate the parts that don't match the highlight reel. But here's the deal. You are not one single tidy thing. You are everything. You contain the wise one and the terrified one, the leader and the kid who's afraid she'll be found out, the authority and the ache. And the work is not to get rid of one side. The work is to stop going to war with yourself about it. I can be an expert and feel like a fraud. Both are true. Neither one cancels the other one out. So when I tell you what's been happening for me lately, I want you to hear it through that lens. Not as me necessarily confessing a flaw, but rather me showing you in real time what it looks like to hold the tension of opposites, what it means to integrate my wholeness by accepting all parts of myself and moving forward anyway. So for years, I have stood confidently in my authority. I'm a coach who coaches and who trains and certifies other coaches. I am an author. I have written several books. I am a speaker. I can walk onto stage, hold a room of hundreds, thousands, and deliver a keynote. These things are all true. And I'm not going to shrink to make you more comfortable. And I'm not going to let you shrink either. Because here's what's true. Lately, I've been stepping more into collaboration. And collaboration, real, true collaboration, has actually reactivated wounds that I thought I had long since healed. So let me tell you what I mean. I am building a custom coaching model for a colleague I'm going into partnership with. He is a genuine expert in his own material. He knows his content cold. And he also knows that his students who've been certified by him in a particular methodology need something that he doesn't teach. The coaching skills that are actually my expertise. So we are building this together. Now, for most of my career, here's how I've worked. I've created coaching models. I deliver the coaching models, and I do it all on my own. my vision, my choice, my way. I am, by my own admission, someone who has operated in a sort of fortified solitude for a very long time. And in this particular collaboration that I'm talking about, I'm doing something different. I put myself in a position to invite feedback, to accept it, to respond to it. And I want to be honest with you about what that felt like at first. It felt like being put under a microscope. I caught myself in an old pattern of bracing for impact, bracing for criticism, anticipating a personal attack, reading feedback that hadn't even arrived yet, and pre-flinching. So if you've ever sent the work, hit submit, shipped the thing, and then sat there in your chest waiting for the blow, you know the feeling. It's not about the feedback. It never was. And so here's where the skills come in. Because I've done my own work, because I have a toolbox, the very frameworks I've built and teach, I was able to do something crucial. I was able to step back from the feeling and get curious about it, not collapse into it, not believe it was the truth, just notice. There's the bracing again. There's the microscope. Where do I know you from? And when I got curious, I knew exactly where I knew it from. I grew up under the microscope of a highly critical mother. That feeling of being under constant scrutiny, of never quite measuring up, of bracing for the critique I knew was coming even before it came. That's the old wound this collaboration activated. Not the colleague, not the feedback, not the project, but a belief I formed when I was young, that to be loved, I had to be flawless. That being seen meant being judged, that another person's eyes on my work were not a gift, they were a threat. This is what I want you to hear. The thing that's in front of you that is hurting is almost never the thing that's actually hurting. The inflection point in your present is pressing on a bruise from your past. The current event is the doorbell. The wound is who's been living in the house this whole time. And here's why this matters so much, especially if you are a high achiever, a people pleaser, a recovering perfectionist. I see you. Because if you don't trace the feeling back to its origin, you will believe the present moment is the problem. You'll think, I just need to do better work. I just need to be more prepared. I just need them to approve of me. And you will chase the approval forever because no amount of present day perfection can heal a childhood-sized hole. You cannot outperform a wound. You can only meet it. So let me name what I actually saw rising up in me. It was perfectionism, old perfectionism, rearing its ugly head, threatening to drag me right back into the realm of external validation and approval I have worked so hard to move past. That seductive little promise perfectionism makes. If you just get it perfect, you'll finally be safe. It's a lie. It has always been a lie. Perfectionism isn't about high standards. Perfectionism is a strategy to avoid being hurt. It's the armor a child built to survive a critical environment. And it worked back then. It kept you safe. The problem is you are not a child anymore. And the armor that once protected you is now the thing keeping you small. It's keeping you isolated. It's keeping you doing everything alone because alone, no one can see the seams. But let's face it, the armor is heavy and you've been wearing it for so long, you forgot you're allowed to set it down. So what did I actually do? Because this is not a podcast where I leave you in the wound. I'm going to tell you the concrete steps I took in real time to move through this. And I want you to notice that none of them required me to feel confident first. I did not wait to feel ready. I moved while the feeling in me was still loud. So step one is I set myself a deadline. Because the truth is, no external deadline already existed. No one was tapping their foot. And I knew that without a time constraint, my perfectionism would win. I would polish, I would tinker, I would just refine one more thing into infinity. Because perfectionism's favorite disguise is diligence. So I gave myself a finish line. Not because I needed pressure, but because a deadline is a boundary you set with your own avoidance. The deadline wasn't about productivity. It was about not letting fear masquerade as thoroughness. And the second thing I did is I recentered what I believe about feedback. And this was an inner pivot. Instead of bracing for criticism, I changed my relationship to it. I said to myself, and I'll say it the way I actually said it, because I want you to feel the spine in it. I know I'm the expert. I know my shit. Feedback isn't personal. Feedback is the key to making everything better. And then the line that cracked it all wide open for me. Yes, I am an expert. And I don't have to know everything. I can be an expert and not have to know everything. Both and. The expert and the learner. The authority and the beginner. Living in the same body on purpose. Because the moment I decided I had to know everything to be credible, that's the moment feedback became a threat instead of a gift. When you require yourself to be all-knowing, every question becomes an accusation. But when you let yourself be an expert who is also learning, feedback stops being a verdict on your worth. It becomes information. And information makes the work better. That's it. That's the whole reframe. And step 3, I took action and I remembered my purpose. Because here's what was underneath all of it. I want this. I want to collaborate with other founders and leaders. I want to be in the room with other people's brilliance. I am intentionally, deliberately changing how I've operated in my business for years. I told you, I built my fortress of solitude. I worked alone. And for a long time it served me, but I have outgrown it. And the next version of what I'm building cannot be built alone. So the discomfort I was feeling wasn't a sign I was doing something wrong. It was a sign I was doing something new. And this is where I want to give you the frame that holds all 3 of these steps together. Because what I just walked through is not random. It's not luck. It's not just Nancy happens to be good at this. It's a structure you can use too. You've heard me teach it before. Change equals vision plus choice plus action. That is my transformation equation. I'm going to show you how it lived in this exact story. Vision was my purpose. Knowing I want to collaborate, knowing the fortress had to come down, holding a picture of who I'm becoming that's bigger than the fear of the moment. Choice was the reframe, deciding what feedback means. Choosing feedback isn't personal over feedback is an attack. Choosing both and over either or. Choosing to be the expert who doesn't have to know everything. And action is the deadline, the doing. Moving while still afraid, sending the work even though my chest braced. Vision without action is just a wish. Action without vision is just busy work. And neither of them happen without the choice to believe something new. Change requires all 3. And not one of them required the fear to disappear first. I'm going to say that again because that's the whole thing. You do not have to feel safe to move. You only have to be willing to move while not feeling safe. Which brings me to what I want you to walk away with. Change doesn't always feel safe. In fact, it rarely does. If you're waiting to feel safe before you grow, you will wait for the rest of your life. The wound that's reactivating is old. The protection it's screaming for is outdated. And your nervous system genuinely cannot tell the difference between the feedback is uncomfortable and I'm in danger. So it sounds the alarm. And you get to be the adult in the room who hears that alarm and says, thank you. I hear you. I've got us. We're going to move forward anyway. Because here's what I've learned time and time again in my body. The discomfort is always worth it. I have the skills. I have the frameworks. I have moved through change before, and I will move through it again. And so the discomfort isn't a stop sign. It's simply a toll. It's the price of admission to the life on the other side of the fortress. Now, I want to bring all of this back to you because I didn't tell you this story of mine so you'd admire how I handle it. I told you so you'd recognize yourself in it. The work I just did for myself, this is exactly what I do for the coaches. I train in my Coach with Confidence coach development training program. I have been training the coaches on Amy Porterfield's team to support her new high-touch coaching program, Calibrate Collective. I have done the same with Kate Northrup's team of coaches for her Relaxed Money program, and with Dr. Mindy Pelz and her certified Fast Like a Girl coaches. And it doesn't stop at the training. I provide ongoing support as they use and refine their skills in real time. I'm there to remind them of the very thing I had to remind myself of in the collaboration. They too are experts, and they don't have to have all the answers every time. And in fact, as coaches, it's not about having all the answers. It's about trusting the client to have their own answers and holding them capable and accountable. And this, it's only the beginning, because the thing I'm reminding these skilled, capable, accomplished coaches of most is you don't have to have all the answers every time to be the real thing. You can be the expert and still be learning. You can hold the authority and still ask the question. You are not less credible because you don't know everything. You are more trustworthy because you're honest about the edges of what you do know. And the same is true for you, listening right now. No matter your role, no matter your title, no matter how senior or how new. So I'm going to leave you with this truth I keep coming home to. You are whole as you are. You are the embodiment of the both and. You don't have to resolve the contradiction. You don't have to choose a side of yourself. Expert and beginner, confident and uncertain, the one who knows and the one who is learning. All of it all at once. It's not a problem to fix. It's a human being to honor. And listen, you and I, we are going to keep encountering these moments, inflection points that bring up old wounds, that reactivate old beliefs, that press on bruises we thought had faded. And that is not failure. It is not backsliding. It's actually how we keep moving forward. The wound resurfaces because we've grown to a place where it finally has room to be healed. The fear gets louder right at the threshold of the new. So the next time you feel like a fraud, right in the middle of being excellent, I invite you to remember both are allowed to be true. Hold them both. Set the deadline. Choose the new belief. Take the new action and move. move forward. Action alleviates anxiety and overwhelm, and action creates momentum. You've got this.